Hey everyone, happy holidays for you folks. We'll just jump right into it. The first trade in 3 months for the new general manager, Bill Armstrong. And a bit of a doozy, bit of a good trade. Obviously it's going to be sad and disappointing to see the leadership and just the character of a human being Derek Stepan was. But it was time for this team to move on, sort of get younger, recoup some draft picks after the debacle with John Chaika. But let's get into it. Derek Stepan came to Arizona in that trade John Chaika made for, I believe it was the 7th overall pick, which turned into Leish Anderson, who still hasn't made a name for himself in the NHL. And in fact, he left the Rangers to go to the Los Angeles Kings, who probably will get more of a NHL role there. But the trade was 7th overall for Derek Stepan and Antti Raanta, and also Anthony DeAngelo went to New York as well. So I think DeAngelo pretty much was turned out to be the biggest piece for the Rangers in that trade, and not the 7th overall pick. So the Coyotes got Stepan and Raanta. Obviously, we all know all the injury problems Raanta has had since coming over to the desert. But Derek Stepan started with the Coyotes strong. He got his 5th consecutive year of scoring 50 or more points. He had 14 goals, 42 assists for 56 points in his first year. Things were rolling just as normal, easy, steady Derek Stepan numbers. Like I said before, 5th straight year of getting 50 plus points, and then it falls off a cliff. And the next year, in 2018-2019, he had 15 goals, only 20 assists for 35 points. And then last season, he had 10 goals, 18 assists for only 28 points in that shortened 70-game season. And then in the playoffs, where some games he looked like a dinosaur, and some games he had the fire and mojo to be a defensively reliable centerman, he had 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points in 9 playoff games just this past August. So Derek Stepan, I think in these 2 years, in 2018-19 and 19-20 last year, he was playing top 6, and this year coming up, where training camp is going to start in 7 days, I wanted Derek Stepan to be a 3rd line, 4th line center, never move up into the top 6, just keep him there, and I would have been happy with that. I would have liked the depth of having Derek Stepan as your 4th centerman. I thought that would have been good. He kills penalties, sort of defensively reliable, can win faceoffs, even though his career with the Coyotes was 47% on the faceoff dot. I thought, just keep Stepan around. It doesn't hurt anyone. We'll get into the cap and what they got. I didn't even say who they got for Derek Stepan yet. But they got a 2nd round pick, which is high value for Derek Stepan. Unfortunately, it wasn't Ottawa's 2nd round pick. It's Columbus's 2nd round pick, who Ottawa owns. So you're not going to get a high 2nd round pick, like a 32nd, 33rd, 34th overall pick. It's going to be more later into the 2nd round because Columbus is a good team. They're in a division where they can make the playoffs if they work hard, and I'm pretty sure they will make the playoffs. So you're looking at a high 40 pick, 48, 49, maybe even a 50th overall pick. So unfortunately, it's not based on Ottawa's placement in the standing. It's based on Columbus's placement. And then in terms of money, Derek Stepan's cap hit is $6.5 million. But in reality, in real money for Coyotes ownership, he was only going to get paid $5 million this season, but he's already been paid $3 million in signing bonuses. So for the Coyotes, in reality, in real money and cash flow, it would have cost him only $2 million to have Derek Stepan play for the Coyotes this upcoming season. Only $2 million. Yes, all the jokes about the Coyotes having no money, they could afford $2 million. They just signed Drake Caggiula to $700,000, and they signed Federic Gauthier to a PTO. So if they do sign Gauthier, which I'm pretty sure they will, because he's he's really good on the face-off dot. He's defensively reliable as a 4th centerman. His career face-off win percentage is about 52%. So 5% more than Derek Stepan. He's a younger guy too. He was on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if they sign Gauthier, it would have to be league minimum, so $700,000. So him and Caggiula make already $1.4 million. So I mean, they could afford $2 million for Derek Stepan. And I'm pretty sure that's why Ottawa took him too, because they're also a cash-strapped team, but it's only $2 million they have to pay in real money. The cap hit is high, but Ottawa has a cap room to afford Derek Stepan in their lineup, brings in leadership. I guess they need some older veterans on that team. Way too many rookies and no-name NHL personnel on the Ottawa Senators. But for the Coyotes, you know, they're losing a character guy, a leader. I want to see what happens with the center lineup now, because in my previous video predicting their 2021, their lineup, I had Derek Stepan as a third-line centerman, Johan Larsson as their fourth-line centerman, and then Hayden and Dvorak as their top two. I would want Dvorak and Hayden to still be the top two, but maybe Rick Tocchet puts Nick Schmaltz back in the center line position. So you have Dvorak, Schmaltz, and then Hayden drops the third line. But I would like Hayden to be in the top six. So I'd probably have to make an update to that video. I'd want Dvorak, Hayden, and then Johan Larsson will be the third line center, and then maybe Frederic Gauthier, if they sign him, would be the fourth line center. Drake Caggiula, who they signed, is not a centerman, even though some places register him as a centerman. His face-off numbers are like under 20 face-offs per season, so obviously he's more of a winger. I can see him being on the taxi squad, a bit of a injury replacement guy. He has some grit and fight to him, sort of like a Connor Garland, but with way less skill. He flourished on Connor McDavid's wing. He's one of Connor McDavid's best friends. So I see Caggiula as a winger. Maybe if that third line, if the Coyotes want more firepower, they'll take off Christian Fischer and put in Drake Caggiula to give that third line some more offensive prowess. But it's sad to see Derek Stepan go. His career in Arizona started off strong and then it kind of dipped down. His playoff performance, there were some games where he looked so out of place and so slow. He's only 30 years old, but for some reason, when I think of Derek Stepan, he's like a 35-year-old vet who's on the way out of the NHL, which is sad to see. I hope him all the best in Ottawa. He'll be paired with Alex Galchenyuk, so another former Coyote in Ottawa. But I wish this trade was made sooner. Now they have $3 million in cap space with this trade, plus Hosa's $5 million, which will go on long-term injury reserve. So they got $8 million to play with. And this past week, we saw Erik Haula and Carl Soderberg sign for cheap money, under $2 million for each of them. So I would have loved if Bill Armstrong made this trade earlier and got Erik Haula to fit that third line center role. Even in my free agency video back in October, I wanted Erik Haula. I thought he'd be a good fit for moving on from Derek Stepan, but he went to Nashville. And then Carl Soderberg signs for only $1 million in Chicago, which I would have loved Carl Soderberg to come back for $1 million. I knew he was going to go because his cap hit was $5 million. But to take a pay cut of $4 million, I would have liked Soderberg back on the Coyotes as a fourth line, third line center, big body. He scores. He scored like 13, 14 goals for the Coyotes last season. Great on the penalty kill too. So maybe there's a trade or maybe a signing left in the next 7 days when training camp starts, because you want your roster to be solidified for training camp. You don't want people to start leaving and coming in the middle of training camp. So we'll see. The only notable free agents left are Mike Hoffman, who's a pure goal-scoring winger, which a pipe dream the Coyotes would go after him now with the cap space. I would love Hoffman. Don't think it's that realistic to go after that big of a goal scorer right now. And Derek Brassard is like the only centerman left in free agency who's an older Derek Stepan. He's 33, whereas Stepan's 30. But he scored. Derek Brassard had a great time with the New York Islanders and the Colorado Avalanche a couple seasons ago. He's got some offensive prowess. Still could skate better than Derek Stepan. So maybe they sign Derek Brassard for a cheap deal, or they just roll it out. They got some cap space for the upcoming season if they need to make a trade. They have replacement people in Johan Larsson and hopefully Frederic Gauthier in the bottom 6 center line position. So they move on from Derek Stepan a bit unceremoniously. A trade that happened late night on a Saturday. No one's really up, refreshing the social feeds on a Saturday night. But, thank you, Derek Stepan, for all you've done. It's going to be sad to see your leadership go, but kind of slow and out of place for this new NHL wave that's coming. The Coyotes need to play fast, hard, grit on the boards, and Derek Stepan was like the odd man out. We'll see what the defensive situation is like. I assumed that they would make a defensive trade first before a forward trade because they have so many extra bodies on the defense, and the forwards are kind of not even a bit bloated. They're perfect. But now with Derek Stepan out, they're going to sign Frederic Gauthier hopefully after his professional tryout to even it out. But we'll see. 7 days left until camp. Start to get the hype going, and hopefully they solidify their roster in 7 days, and it's the same people, same team for the next 4 months, and no one's coming in and out in the middle of training camp or during the season. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support.